It used to be that the only way you could create quality artwork was by hand, using tools that were reserved for those with the skill, the patience, and the time to master their use. But now there's a better way. Now anyone can create high-quality graphics and illustrations quickly and easily. Because today there's a revolution taking place in graphic design and production. A revolution born of computers and laser technology, but with its roots in the tradition of quality and creativity. A revolution based on new tools, tools which free the imagination and eliminate drudgery. Introducing Adobe Illustrator 88 from Adobe Systems. You know, when you think about it, every production tool a graphic artist uses is designed for one purpose: to create an image on a page, and to do so as quickly and as easily as possible. But the fact is, some of those tools take considerable skill to use, and even in the hands of a pro, take too much time that could be used to design and create. But with Adobe Illustrator 88, that's all changed. Because now you can replace those traditional tools with a system of electronic tools that allow you to design and produce your artwork simultaneously. No matter what kind of graphic art you create, Adobe Illustrator 88 can help you create it faster, easier, and with better results than you could ever achieve by hand. Illustrator is powerful yet easy to use, so you don't have to be a professional artist to get professional-looking results. But if you are a professional, Illustrator provides all the power and flexibility you need to create complex graphics and illustrations. With Illustrator, you can draw precise freehand curves or geometric shapes, and you have complete control over the characteristics of each and every line. Curved lines stay clean, crisp, and smooth, no matter how much you enlarge them. Lines can be drawn at virtually any weight, and you can fill shapes or lines with any value of gray or color. Objects and type can be scaled, rotated, and transformed in some pretty amazing ways. You can create smooth, blended transitions, design your own patterns, and then use them within your graphic. And you can print your finished graphic at magazine-quality resolution. That's because Illustrator 88 is based on PostScript, the language of desktop publishing. Created by Adobe, PostScript is a high-level graphics language used to convey information to a printer about the appearance of text and graphics on a page. The beauty of PostScript is that it is both device and resolution independent, so the resolution of your finished artwork is based entirely on your printer. This means that Illustrator artwork printed on an Apple LaserWriter will have a resolution of 300 dots per inch, which is perfect for proposals, flyers, and business reports. That same file printed on a Linotronic L300 typesetter will have a resolution of over 2,500 dots per inch, giving you professional, magazine-quality galleys or plate-ready negatives. But to use Illustrator, you don't need to know anything about PostScript. All you do is draw, design, and create. And with Illustrator 88, you can create just about any kind of graphic you can imagine. For business presentations, you can create high-quality charts, graphs, and illustrations quickly and easily. You can either start from scratch or work from an image that you scan into your Macintosh and then trace. You can even trace artwork automatically using the Auto Trace tool. You can also convert MacDraw graphics into Illustrator format and then improve them using Illustrator's powerful tools. And to make it even easier, you can purchase finished Illustrator images, like those from the Adobe Collector's Edition, and then use them as a starting point for your graphic. Illustrator files can also be exported to most popular page layout programs, so you can use them in overhead transparencies, reports, newsletters, and magazines. If you're a professional illustrator, you'll be able to draw technical illustrations with a level of detail you'd never even attempt by hand. You can create perfect isometric drawings and scale objects or type to fit precisely. You can duplicate objects and place copies in several places without having to redraw them. It's easy to zoom in to add more detail. And with Illustrator, you know that your line quality will be perfect every time. If you're a graphic designer, Illustrator 88 gives you the power to free your imagination. You can create sophisticated graphics in half the time it used to take you by hand. Design with complete control over every element, previewing the results on your screen as you go. For color, you can choose standard printing inks and Pantone colors or mix your own right on the screen. And because you're working on an electronic desktop, you can change a single color and see how it affects the entire graphic, all in a matter of seconds. You can make copies of your design, create different versions, and then print them out on a color thermal printer for client presentations. Once approved, you can print your color separation negatives directly on Linotronic image setters, eliminating time-consuming mechanicals and costly mistakes. No matter what kind of art you do, Adobe Illustrator 88 takes the tedium out of the process, so you can spend more time on design. After all, isn't that what it's all about? In order to get the most out of Adobe Illustrator 88, you need to spend some time learning how to use it and how each tool works. But first, it really helps to see the program in action. So the rest of this video is devoted to a couple of demonstrations that highlight some of the key features of the program. First, I'll give you a brief overview of the Illustrator toolbox and how each tool works. Then I'll show you how to design a simple graphic with the most commonly used tools. You know what's really great about Adobe Illustrator 88 is that it's designed to make it easy for anyone to create professional quality art. It doesn't matter whether you want great business charts or 4-color separations. Illustrator gives you all the power and flexibility you need. Yet it doesn't overwhelm you with a million commands. Instead, it gives you a set of simple yet powerful tools that you can use to approach your work in the way that's most comfortable for you. For example, every time you create a new graphic, you have the option to approach your work in a number of ways. Usually, you either start from scratch or trace a sketch or drawing that you've scanned into your Macintosh. But you can also use any Mac Paint graphic as a template for tracing, or convert an existing Mac Draw graphic directly into Illustrator format. Okay, let's say you want to begin a drawing from scratch. In that case, all you do is select one of Illustrator's 3 drawing tools and start to work. Let's begin with the Freehand tool. The Freehand tool lets you draw organic shapes, just like you would with a pencil. All you do is hold down the mouse button and move the mouse. If you make a mistake, just press the Command key, erase what you don't want, and then keep going. That's one of the great things about Illustrator. It's always easy to modify your artwork or correct mistakes. Now, if you're used to other Macintosh drawing programs, you'll find that Illustrator works a bit differently. With Illustrator, you don't draw the line directly. Instead, you define the path you want your line to take, and Illustrator draws it for you. I'll show you what I mean. You see this solid line that appeared when I released the mouse button? That's the path I've drawn. The little boxes and other lines are part of Illustrator's special editing features that you use to modify the path until it's just right. We'll talk more about these in a second. Illustrator also has a zoom tool that looks like a little magnifying glass, so you can easily zoom in to work in greater detail or zoom out to see the big picture. Okay, now that I've finished drawing my path, I'll tell Illustrator how the line should be drawn or stroked. Let's try a 3-point line. The next step is to preview the drawing to see what the finished output will look like when it's printed on a PostScript printer. And there you go. That's the basic process you'll follow each time you create a graphic. First you draw the object, then paint it, then preview the results. Okay, what about straight lines? Now we all know the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Well, that's the same way it works with the pen tool. All you do is just click the mouse button once, twice, and there's your line. Each time you click, you create another anchor point. Anchor points tell Illustrator where the path should be drawn, so each time you click, Illustrator draws a path. To create a single line, you click the beginning and end point, then click again on the pen tool to tell Illustrator that you're done using the pen tool. To change a line's direction or length, you just select one of the anchor points and then drag it wherever you like. Now, one of the most difficult things to draw by hand is a series of clean, precise curves. But with a pen tool, it's no problem at all. The pen tool lets you create graceful curves quickly and easily, and you can modify them just as easily until they're perfect. That's another advantage of Illustrator. You always have complete control over your work. Illustrator creates a path for a curved line much as it does for a straight line, using anchor points to determine where to begin and end the path. But curved lines require much more information than straight lines, so Illustrator creates direction lines on the screen to help you create and manipulate the curves you want to draw. Direction lines are like handles that let you vary the shape and direction of the curve. They appear on all curves, no matter which Illustrator tool is used to create them, so you can edit any curve in Illustrator at any time. Of course, like the path itself, direction lines won't be seen on your final drawing. Now, rectangles are easy. With Illustrator, you can create free-form rectangles of any size or shape. All you do is select the rectangle tool and drag the mouse in a diagonal direction. If you hold down the Shift key while you drag the mouse, you can make a perfect square. And if you need to be more precise, you can specify an exact dimension and Illustrator will draw the rectangle for you. The ellipse tool works just like the square tool, letting you create any shaped ellipse or perfect circle. Now, sometimes it's faster to trace an existing image and modify it, rather than start from scratch. You may have used a lightbox or tracing paper to do this in the past. Well, Illustrator 88 lets you work in much the same way. But with Illustrator, you do it electronically, using any Macintosh-compatible scanner. Some scanners use a video camera to capture the image. They're great for inputting three-dimensional images. Then there are flatbed types that you place a sheet of paper in, much like a photocopier. No matter what kind of scanner you use, the scanned image is stored as a bitmapped file. Now, to trace the image, you then load it into the background of a new Illustrator file as a template, and trace it much as you would artwork with tracing paper. Here, I'll show you how it works. By the way, you can use any existing MacPaint artwork as a template, and there's plenty of clip art libraries available for MacPaint. All right, there's my template. Now at this point, I can use any one of 3 different drawing tools to trace the template. For most images, the simplest way is to use the new Auto Trace tool. The Auto Trace tool lets you trace shapes by simply pointing to the shape or line and clicking the mouse button. Believe me, it's a real time saver. But because the Auto Trace tool can't always determine what's important and what's not, you'll probably need to use the pen tool or freehand tool in certain areas. This is particularly true in areas with overlapping lines and lots of detail. As you work, you can view your artwork with or without the template, so you can see how you're doing. The third way to begin a graphic is to convert existing Macintosh artwork. If you have MacDraw files that you'd like to enhance, it's easy to convert them into Illustrator format using the Draw Over utility included with the program. You can then take advantage of Illustrator's editing and drawing tools to make some pretty amazing graphics. Illustrator 88 also features a number of powerful transformation tools that can be used to modify a finished shape, something you can't do with traditional hand tools. With Illustrator, any selected object can be quickly duplicated by simply holding the Option key and dragging. With the Rotation tool, you can rotate an object around any axis. For precise work, you can specify the exact angle and then repeat it using the Transform Again command. The Reflection tool lets you either flip an image or create a mirror image copy. The Scale tool can be used to scale an object in any dimension, giving you incredible control over the shape. You can also use it to scale an object uniformly up or down in size, either by eye or by typing in an exact percentage. By using a non-uniform scale, you can create a perspective effect. The Shear tool lets you slant or skew an object along a specified axis. This makes it great for creating oblique type and other special effects. But my favorite transformation tool is the Blend tool. It lets you create all kinds of interesting effects. With the Blend tool, you can create a metamorphosis between two different shapes. All you do is select an anchor point in each shape. Specify the number of steps for the blend, and Illustrator does the rest automatically. You can blend between two black and white shades, or if you have a Macintosh 2, between two colors. You can also combine the Blend tool with other Illustrator tools to make patterns, create color blends within type, or even realistic shading. Oh, speaking of color, let's talk a little bit about the Paint menu. Anytime you want the interior of an object shaded, you fill it by specifying a percentage of gray or a particular color. You can create color using process or custom colors. If you want to use a standard ink, you can choose from a full palette of over 700 printing inks and Pantone colors. You also have the option to create your own custom color and save it for future use as a spot color. And because you're working on an electronic desktop, you can create several versions of your design in full color, right on the screen, giving you tremendous creative control. The Paint menu is also used whenever you create your own custom patterns. All you do is generate the pattern itself first, then select the area you want to include within each pattern tile by drawing a box that you place in the background. You then choose Pattern and give it a name. Once you've defined your pattern, you can then use it to fill any shape, just like you would with color or gray tones. Illustrator also lets you add type to any graphic. You can choose any typeface that you have in your system file. You can also specify virtually any point size, down to a fraction of a point. Type can also be manipulated with the same transformation tools that you use for any other object. All in all, Adobe Illustrator 88 is a pretty amazing program. The more you work with it, the more you'll come to appreciate the power and simplicity of the Illustrator toolbox. Believe me, I've only hit the high points so far. In a minute, I'll show you how to draw a simple graphic from start to finish and give you a sense of the normal workflow. The best way to get a feel for the way Adobe Illustrator 88 works is to see how a graphic is drawn from start to finish. I won't go into a lot of detail about each tool. I'll just give you a sense of how they're used within a normal working session. So I thought I'd show you how I created this simple graphic featuring a map of California. Now, in order to get the proportions right, first I made a photocopy of the map and then scanned it into my Macintosh. Okay, here's the template on the screen, ready to go. First, I'll trace the coastline using the Freehand tool. Drawing with Illustrator's Freehand tool is easy. You simply hold down the mouse button and drag the mouse, guiding the pointer down along the coastline. Okay, now I'd like a little more detail in the Bay Area. So I'll grab the Zoom tool, which is this little magnifying glass, and continue working. If I press on the space bar, I can temporarily change over to the Hand tool to move my drawing around on the screen, then release it to get my Freehand tool back. Going back to the Freehand tool, I can pick up where I left off and keep going. Oops. Now, if you make a mistake with the Freehand tool, you simply hold down the Command key without releasing the mouse button and drag back to erase what you don't want. See how the arrow became white instead of black? There. Now I can release the Command key and continue drawing. Okay, now to zoom back out, you reselect the Zoom tool, then hold down the Option key. See how it becomes a minus sign? Then you just click. Each time you click, you zoom out a level. So now I'll continue drawing down the coast. By the way, with Illustrator, you don't have to worry if your first attempt isn't perfect. You can always go back and edit your work in more detail later. Okay, now that I've finished the coastline, I'll use the pen tool to draw the straight line segments of the map. All I have to do is click at each point where the line changes direction. Okay, let's view just the artwork. There's my outline of California. Now remember, what I've just created is only the path for the outline. The next step is to go back and stroke the path and fill in the interior of the map with the Paint menu. First, I'll use the Selection tool to select the outline so Illustrator knows what I want to paint. Then go to the Style menu and choose Paint. I can fill my artwork in a solid black, or change the percentage of black to get gray tones, or choose a color. I'm planning to include this illustration in a color publication, so I'll choose a process color. Now I'll stroke the outline of the map with a solid black line. Let's make it a 2-point line. Now I'll preview the image to see how it will actually look when printed. All right, that looks okay. So now I'm going to save what I've done so far and then make some changes. Now at this point I have a California map on file that I can always use for another illustration later or revert back to in case I really blow it. Now let's transform this map into something a little more interesting. First, let's look at it at actual size. That's going to be too small. So let's enlarge it a bit. Using the Scale tool together with the Shift key, I can enlarge or shrink the map to my heart's content. I can also scale it in different dimensions to create a perspective effect, which is what I want to do here. And let's get rid of the template so I can see my artwork better. Okay, now let's add a drop shadow, something that's easy to do with Illustrator. Using the Option key, I'll make a copy of the map and move it under the first version. This will be my drop shadow shape. Now I'll change the fill on the copy to a light shade of gray for the shadow and eliminate the stroke for the outline. Let's preview it to see if everything's okay. That's not right. Here's what's going on. Each time a new object is created, Illustrator places it on top of any previous layer, but I can take care of that. All I do is select Send to Back from the Arrange menu. Okay, let's preview that again. Great, that's more like it. Now I'll add a callout box with some text. First, I'll use the Rectangle tool to create a box. Okay, now I need to go back to the Paint menu and change the values, since I just finished painting the drop shadow. There. Now I have a white box with a black outline. The next step is to create the callout arrow. First, I'll ungroup the rectangle, and then insert some additional anchor points with the Scissors tool. I then select the center anchor point and drag it to the location on the map I want to call out. Great. Now I'll insert some text into the box with the Text tool. I'll choose Palatino 18-point bold. Type in the text. Center it. Click OK, and my type appears centered in the box. Okay, let's preview the graphic to see how everything looks. Not bad. So hopefully this gives you a better idea of how you can use the tools in Illustrator to create a finished drawing. Illustrator lets you create any kind of graphic, from the very simple to the complex. It all depends on how you want to use it. What I've just shown you is a very simple graphic. Now let's take a look at artwork that's been produced by other users of Illustrator. After watching the video, you should read the print tutorial and then practice each lesson on your Macintosh until you feel comfortable using the program on your own. Each lesson begins with an overview, followed by step-by-step instructions. The lessons are designed so that once you've learned the basics, you can go ahead and experiment on your own. With Illustrator, it's easy to correct any mistakes. And there's a user's guide available if you have questions. And don't forget to send in your registration card so you have access to Adobe's expert customer support. When you do, you'll also receive a free subscription to Colophon, Adobe's award-winning news publication. If you want to be more creative with your use of type, the Adobe Type Library offers over 350 high-quality typefaces, which can be purchased separately and then used in your Illustrator designs. And if you're interested in making your life a little easier, Adobe offers Collector's Edition, filled with over 250 high-quality Illustrator images in ready-to-use form. Adobe Illustrator 88 is the most powerful and sophisticated drawing package ever developed for the Macintosh. You can create artwork with Illustrator that's nearly impossible to achieve by hand. Yet it's easy to learn and to use, even if you haven't drawn anything since 4th grade. Illustrator lets you create so much, so quickly, that it makes artwork fun again. I know you'll enjoy using it, and I hope it helps you achieve your very best.